it's not just traditional advertising too, it's also life-saving content. Imagine in the future, there's like a hurricane or a whatever. You're going to print the life-saving information on the packaging. This is where the hospital is. This is the hours of operation. Here's the food drop. Here's the times. This is how you make a tourniquet. This is how you purify your own water. Hey, scan this QR code to get the latest info from your government. Scan that QR code to tell the government they don't know what the they're talking about. And so it's like, it's not just traditional advertising. It's you want to get a message in somebody's brain, you put that beverage in their hand.
Thank you for taking a seat with the chairman. Welcome to Chairman of the Board.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? My name is Michael, the chairman, and this is the Chairman of the Board podcast. My guest today is the founder of FreeWater.io, Josh Clifford, sipping some of his own water right now. I got to say, man, I was just talking to you before the podcast started here about how fascinating I found your idea to be. If you guys can't tell by the name of the company, FreeWater, your goal is to give free water to everybody, and you feel that is a human right, unlike, I don't know if you remember that story from the guy from Nestle who wanted to own all the water. Bill Burr had a bit about it. You remember that guy?
Of course.
Yeah. So you have the audacity to say everybody should be able to drink clean water. So I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you got into the free water business. If it was based on your educational background, was it a passion project that sprouted into a company? How did you get into the clean water business?
Yeah, good question. So it's not just water, and I'll explain how, but free water is just the first product of our future free supermarket, or Amazon. And so Amazon's first product was books. Ours is free water. Mm-hmm. And so long story short, definitely not through education. I'm that guy who never paid attention in school. And for my 30th birthday, I was on a trip around the world. And my goal was 100 countries over 4 years. I sold everything I owned. And I was in Rome. I was in Rome for 5 minutes. I was on my 25th country of the trip or so. And I really was moved by the story of this Nigerian refugee and his brother. And these two guys had PhDs in architecture. They showed me, and I think it was iPhone 6 at the time, some skyscrapers that they had built in Lagos, the capital of Nigeria. And they were run out of their country by ISIS. And it took them 7 months to walk across Africa to take a raft from Libya to Italy. And I felt like a complete asshole because I was on this trip around the world. And, being American, no matter what your news source is, CNN, Fox, whatever, I found that all the stories basically said that there was something wrong with all these refugees. And what I actually found after speaking to this person and many other people was the story that you didn't get was all these people come from countries that we are bombing to the ground. I mean, all the refugees are from Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, mm-hmm. Syria, Yemen, Nigeria, Sudan. I was a soldier for 2 years. So I know,
really? I didn't know that.
So I know we've got boots in the ground in all these places. And so what I did was I canceled the rest of my trip around the world. And I made a nonprofit organization in Eastern Europe called Save the Refugees. And it was an experience. Not only did I actually meet my wife while volunteering, 2 weeks into it, I didn't have any volunteer help. And I found a very nice young woman who was on a break for volunteering with her organization and asked if she would help me. And now she's stuck with me. She's my wife. And
that's awesome.
But we volunteered for about a year and a half on and off. And any refugee that spoke English or Spanish, I really made it a point to try to hear their story. A lot of the Syrians actually spoke Spanish because many of them got educated in Spain. And if I would say, 80% of them were refugees because we unfortunately bombed their house to the ground. And 20% of them or because they didn't have water or food in their country. And some of these people, especially from rural India, Afghanistan, rural parts of Africa and Asia, they would say they would literally walk 5 hours to go get water, carrying a stick and buckets on their back. And then you go, you fill it up at the well, you get home, then your sibling goes on this walk, and it's a never-ending relay race to go get this water. And then one day you show up to the water well, and it dried up because of global warming, or somebody standing there with a gun, and they own the well now. And next thing you know, that's your lifeline, right? You can't grow crops, you can't eat or drink or anything without the water. The next thing you know, you sell everything you own and you're walking across the world looking for help. And it didn't typically find it because a lot of people were upset. Hey, you're ruining our continent. You're doing this, you're doing that. And they were these really heartbreaking stories. And so after volunteering, we dug a little deeper. And when we researched, approximately 35 million people die every year around the world because they don't have water, food, or medicine. And when I say medicine, I'm not talking about like chemotherapy medicine or open heart surgery sort of stuff. If every kid in the world just had a bar of soap, that would save 5 million lives a year just right there. With a bar of soap, not anything special.
Not much. Yeah, just a little thing.
And so we were very satisfied with our nonprofit effort, but it didn't solve the underlying issues behind why these people had to leave in the first place. So I started working beyond full time at solving that. And so the goal was to make saving a life across the world as easy as drinking a free water, soda, beer, a slice of pizza. Because if I saved a life every time I ate a slice of pizza or drank a beer, I would have saved a lot of lives right now. And I didn't know anything at the time about advertising or technology for that much to say. All I knew is that the nonprofit system today, as it works, is broken. Number one, in my opinion, there's a reason why the Red Cross or some nonprofit hasn't saved the world yet, and it's because no one really gets rich off of it. But you see these companies where they're making billions of dollars, they grow really quickly. And so the goal was to, and if you wanted to donate to your favorite nonprofit today, you'd go to the website, hit the donate now button, then you got to put your name, credit card number, which you don't want to do.
Right.
You put up $50, you hit the donate now button. Then it's going to say, hey, Michael, do you want to donate once a week, once a month, once a year? And a lot of steps to do the right thing. And so again, it was how to make it so simple. You drink a glass of water, or something, you save a life. And so all I knew at the time was.
And you're getting that for free too. You're not having to budget out if you're on if you're lower income, but you want to do good for the world. But you feel like you can't because you have to survive for your family. And you're doing it through such a smart process, which we'll get to how you're doing it, because we might want to explain that next so people understand like how you're starting to do that. Yeah.
Totally. And so all I knew at the time was if porn could be free, anything could be free, but you just had to find the right way to do it. And so it took me 2 years to invent it, another 2 years to bring it to market. And so today we've launched again what will become the free Amazon. And not only will your products be free, but when you live within a 5-mile radius of our future microfactories, you also get free delivery. And our first product is FreeWater, which comes in aluminum bottles and paper cartons. And the water is free because the packaging is the ad space. And it actually, per 10 impressions, we're 75% cheaper than the junk mail industry, the crap in your mailbox. And what most people don't realize is that ad medium has the highest ROI of every ad medium in the USA. And so junk mail has a 29% ROI. Facebook is like 14%. Google's less than 10. So still, that untargeted crap in your mailbox is 3 times more effective than Google.
I was going to say, I was just thinking about how I used to not check my junk mail at all, but now I genuinely do, because sometimes like there's stuff in there that I might use as I've gotten older. I'm like, hey, I actually might use this. Even though it's junk mail, a lot of it is, sometimes junk, but a lot of it is sometimes stuff that you signed up for at one time and you get some from it and you're like, actually I should revisit this,
Yeah, I mean, it works. And so, the beauty with FreeWater is 10 cents from each beverage is donated to charity to build water wells for people in need. When you do the math, we'll only need 10% of Americans to save money and drink our free product. And that year alone, we will donate enough money to charity to solve the global water crisis permanently. Not by giving the people in extreme poverty free water, but by digging them the water well or water system that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's 8% of the world's population right there being uplifted. And free water is just our first product. And so our second product will most likely be free marijuana in the states where it's legal.
Oh, really? I didn't know that one either. Okay.
Then we go to free beer and then free groceries. And then, so
Mm-hmm.
there you have it.
I mean, it's such an interesting product model that I'm surprised. Our country is basically kind of founded on marketing. Like everyone has just been turned into a consumer. There's so much commercial advertising constantly. We're bombarded with it. I'm surprised nobody has thought of doing something like this earlier. And when I heard it, I'm like, duh, this is, trying not to swear. So Google, I was going to try and advertise this, but I'll bleep that out. I'm surprised nobody has done this before. And I just think it's a revolutionary idea. So do you think you're mostly going to stick with, for now, like local advertising? Or do you think that you're going to open it up to bigger advertisers to come in and advertise on the boxes or aluminum cans?
So, yeah, great question. So there's what you see on TikTok, which is how most people find us at the moment. That's our B2B distribution. So it comes straight from us into somebody's hand. And so B2B, we are currently only in Austin. We're currently doing about 1,600 beverages a week. And we've got a lot of LOIs and pending orders from major advertisers, but they want us to do 10,000, 20,000 a month. And so we're in the middle of fundraising close to $500,000 to put the world's first free vending machines and free water trucks on the streets of Austin. And then these will allow us to increase that volume and open that up to bigger players. But then we have our B2B model. And B2B, we're currently shipping products anywhere in the lower 48 states. And so what that means is advertisers place orders on paper cartons, aluminum bottles. We design them however they want. We only take about 4% of the real estate to brand ourselves. We let them add whatever technology they want, video, social media, buy it now situation with QR codes. And we ship it to them and they distribute it. And so, so that today, that's our bread and butter. That's where we make all of our money today. If you've noticed so far, we only advertise ourselves as free water on TikTok. The reason why is because it's really important for people to see free water, because when they come up to us on the street, they're just like, okay, what's the catch? Or I must be on some sort of reality TV show. Or like, it's free. And they're like, what's the catch? It's like, well, there's typically ads on the bottle, 10 cents per bottle, donate to charity. They're like, what's the catch? Like, do I have to donate? I'm like, no, all you have to do is drink it. Every 150 saves a life in Africa right now. And then they're just perplexed. And then so our next label, which is coming out next week, it says your ad here. And on the packaging, it has everything that you could do with our product, because it's really a blank canvas. I mean, there's endless possibilities.
So you're in the educational phase when you get to that point, right? Trying to educate what basically the product will be.
We are. And then we've already got labels ordered for after that. And at those labels, now we're opening it up to outside advertisers. And so we've already got advertisers lining up to do that B2C. Some people specifically, I just want to be on your TikTok. Like, I don't care if it's even professionally manufactured. I just want 5 TikTok videos with my face on the bottle or something,
Yeah. So I don't know if I said this at the beginning, but the way I discovered you was through TikTok. And I was going to say, like, your advertising just hooked me in right away. Just not based on the premise alone, it hooked me in, but whoever did the voiceover and did you write the ad too?
For that video?
Yeah, for the Elon Musk one?
Yes, so that's actually 3 minutes worth of our 3-minute, 30-second future Kickstarter video. We're launching a Kickstarter in January. And I made that video. I did not do the voiceover. That was my buddy Oliver, who's very talented.
Yeah, did a great job.
Guy. But it was very difficult to make that video because I'm not a video editor or anything of that nature. And so, yeah, we wanted to, as you could tell, his voiceover is kind of a little pissed off. It's like, And so we told him, pretend that you've already had a couple cocktails at a bar and you're just speaking to someone who just won't get it. Because we want you to kind of represent the upset and disgruntled youth who are inheriting a planet that's just going to shit, you know? And
so the way it hooked me in was like, it had so most of the advertisements I see, I think a lot of people would agree to. I graduated last year from Portland State with a marketing degree. But that's beside the point. Like, just most people always want to they can't wait to skip the ad, right? But yours, the best ads I find have a good amount of humor to start out with, to like set the person at ease, to interest you just a little bit, but just around the right amount of information to make you stay. Because you gave a cause of why you should keep listening, and you maintain the funniness, you know. And I just started watching all your videos from then on. And I could put your ad at the end of or middle of the podcast if you want.
For sure, it's your show. You know, so it's big water, in my humble opinion, is worse than big pharma, big oil, big sugar, all of the big whatever. Even the military industrial complex, for me, big water is the worst of them all, because they hide behind we're water, we're healthy, we're good for you. But the fact is, it's only $7 billion to end the global water crisis. Coke, Pepsi, Nestle could come together and just, boop, it's just solved. But it's not in their financial benefit to do so. And so in Nigeria, the capital of Nigeria, they have one of the largest populations, also Mexico City, where millions of people do not have access to safe drinking water daily. And they're marking up those prices even higher. And, you know, they put the water in the plastic bottles. They know that the plastic bottles are proven to cause cancer, birth defects, breast cancer in women, brain degenerative disorders. They do it anyways. They know that the plastic bottles are going to be in the ocean for 1,000 years. And they go for it, but they hide behind that, we're good for you, we're healthy. And again, every time they get the water for practically free. So in the state of California, where I'm from, where we've been in a drought my whole life, even now I'm in Austin, Texas, Nestle pays, I think, $225 every 40 or 50 million gallons of water they take. And then they go and they sell it to you at the equivalent price of 2,000 times the price of tap water. So every time you spend $1 on a bottle of water, it's the equivalent of spending $2 million on an iPhone. Obviously, who can do that? Or
right.
$9,000 for a bologna sandwich. You would never spend $9,000 on a sandwich, but every time you spend $1, you do that.
And then if you buy like Fiji, which is probably like what, $5 or so, and depending, like if you go to a sporting event, they'll upcharge everything. So like a bottle of water will be like $7 or $8. It's absurd, right? And also, I don't know if you saw the podcast with Joe Rogan. I think the doctor's name was Dr. Swan, and they were talking about microplastics and how bad microplastics are when you drink it. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, well, not only in your water, but it's in the rain now. And so I don't want to sound negative or cynical here, but I'm personally a believer that we've already wrote our own death warrant. If we stopped all plastic production today, I think it will still be the death of every single one of us within 30, 40 years. Obviously, the cancer it will cause, every animal, everything, because you go down to the depths of the ocean, it looks like a plastic soup right now. You can't even find a lot of organisms there. It's just this plastic, mushy shit. And then everywhere, every raindrop in the world right now that is being tested, doesn't matter where you're located, has plastic in the rain now. And so it's to the point where if we stopped all plastic production today, and if you melted it down into 1/3 of an inch thick slab, you could cover the entire country of France twice.
It's crazy.
That's a lot. I mean,
yeah. So do you know of any way out of that to reverse what we've done?
I don't think it's reversible, to be honest. You know, you read this occasional article where, some scientist has invented some sort of bacteria that's going to eat plastic. Oh, we're safe, but where is it? How's it going to happen? How's it going to be deployed more quickly? At the end of this month, I'm going to the PAC Expo in Las Vegas to get more manufacturing connections. And that's the largest any type of food or drink packaging expo in the world. And it really is the evil empire there. You see the companies with like these massive bags of these little plastic pellets that they turn into the bottles, and everybody's trying to undercut the booth from next to the right, left to the right. And so this is the scary thing. What most people don't realize is, for example, we like to shop at Trader Joe's. It's right down the street from our house. Every single piece of plastic at Trader Joe's is probably not recyclable. Anytime you buy a salad, it's in a plastic thing, or mangoes, or any of that stuff, it can't be recycled because there's about 7 different types of plastics. And most recycling centers, if they are working, can only recycle one. And so what's happening is the beverage manufacturers and all these manufacturers, to increase their margins, they keep making cheaper and cheaper and different types of plastics and plastic mixes. And no company really has the same mixture. And so it can't be recycled. You can't take one kind of plastic and mix it with the other sort of plastic, unfortunately, and then out comes this new bottle. It doesn't work.
So you would think, like, look, I know we do need a good amount. We need there's always a balance, right? Like, we don't need too much regulation. We don't need, we need a certain amount of it, though. Like, that's one thing I think regulation would be good for in our government, and is common sense. It would say, like, look, okay, we can only recycle one type of plastic. Everyone has to comply to make sure we can recycle it so we don't destroy the earth. You know, like, wouldn't that make sense?
It's, when I was in the Army, they used to say, if it makes sense, do the opposite. And so I think that's a lot of the times how our government works.
But why? Like, who? It just blows my mind. I mean, as we can tell, like, with the current people in power right now, but like, how have past generations, like my parents' generation, allowed that to happen? Like Ronald Reagan says, like, freedom doesn't get passed down in the bloodstream. You got to teach your kids about it. Essentially, like, you got to teach the principles of history and why we have the freedoms, why we have, and we need to pick out good leaders that aren't corrupt and have common sense. But we just lost.
I started working on this stuff personally out of a sense of guilt, because one day I realized after brainstorming on this that I could make anything in a Costco or a Walmart free. And then I did the calculation and I was like, wow, you could really do a lot here. But I didn't want to wait for any politician to quote unquote save the world, because you've got people on the left and you've got people on the right, and they tend to do this a lot. One side wants to raise taxes, the other side wants to lower taxes. There's never really like a 50-50 deal ever. And so with that said, I'm not going to hold my breath for our government to agree on anything and solve any problem correctly. And again, we wanted to do this without a penny of tax dollars, because it's one thing to say, okay, we found a solution, but we need to tax you a bunch of money to do this, or hey, this is zero tax out of your pocket. Just drink this free beer. And you go and you save someone across the world.
Dude, that's such a good, it's just another layer of awesomeness to this. You win around government to say, hey, we're not going to even raise your taxes. We found a way around that. Here's some free stuff. Yeah, there's advertising. You already watch advertisements on YouTube and stuff like that for free content. At least with this way, like, you're getting free resources to use to feed you and your family. And, you're helping solve the water crisis, and you're not having to have your taxes raised.
So, just to be fully transparent here, I personally hate advertising and Big Brother. And I've actually created other processes where you could solve all of these things without any advertising or data, but you need to have about $1 billion worth of infrastructure. And so today, this is our version, not even 1.0. This is like 0.025. But
okay. So I was going to ask you about that stuff in a little bit, about how, like, you want to live in a world, because right now, as for free water and stuff, it's a good idea, especially for local advertising. I think it's amazing, and that wouldn't annoy me at all for local stuff. But when everything is so about consumerism, and everything's chock full of ads, and you're getting bombarded on the news, on your TV, and then on all the ads on your phone all the time, and then it's on all the products you buy, will it be like an information overload? I was going to ask you, do you have any plans to
Okay, so let's circle back again, because you asked, well, why hasn't anyone thought of this before? And I think that has a big take into it. I've started other companies before, and the first thing you do is you have an idea, you want to solve a problem. And then you're like, okay, I need to come up with a cool name and then a logo. And then you want everyone in the world to know what your logo is and what your name is. And so that's the reason why Coca-Cola doesn't have the ads on there now, because they want everyone to know what this can of Coke is. So we all know what a can of Coke tastes like. Even I don't drink it, I know what it tastes like. And so that's why it's counterintuitive, because people tend to use their own real estate to brand themselves. But if you brand your competitors, you can make a lot more money. And so that's the whole thing. And it'll just, in the future, I predict it'll just say Coca-Cola on the lip of the can, and everything else will be like Nike, Toyota. And so now circling back to the other thing, I'll just give you a little bit of ad industry facts. With junk mail, it's weird to me, but both studies show that baby boomers and millennials and Gen Z all prefer junk mail because you could deal with it when you feel like it. You know, if it's a pop-up ad, you have to click out of it. If you're watching YouTube and that commercial comes up, it's there. If you're watching TV like I was growing up, it's like the climax of the movie, 5 commercials. And so that's an inconvenience. Or even the guy on the corner or girl on the corner who like won't let you walk by without taking a flyer. You don't want it, you take it anyways, and you crumple it up and throw it in the trash. Right. Whether it's a flyer or the pop-up ad, even if it had your dream offer on there, you have to get past that split second that you were inconvenienced. You know, like I don't want this, get out of your TV commercial. And you have to get past that, even if it's the car of your dreams or whatever. And so this is a complete 180, because at full realization, you're going to download our app or be a member of our website. You're going to sign up for this. You're going to say, hey, please send me free water or free groceries to our house for free. You're going to be happy about it because it saves you money. You're going to be happy about it because we're doing it in the most environmentally friendly way possible. And we're donating to charity. And from that perspective and mindset is when you should look at that package and be like, Nike or whatever, right? And that's when the brand should want you to absorb their message.
They're choosing, your customers are choosing to interact with it versus having it shoved in their face.
Yes, right. They're coming to us, not us attacking them.
Exactly.
That's a big difference right there.
Like even ads that I like, that I've decided to go and purchase from their company, they keep coming back over and over again on YouTube, and it starts to piss me off. And I'll start to hate them, even though I like their product. I have a bunch of it. I like their company, but I'm like, stop showing it to me. It's getting annoying, you know? So it's such a good point that the person has to make their own decision, and then it's not annoying. I completely agree.
And so, I mean, it'll be less annoying, but maybe your least favorite politician is on that bag of potatoes one day. But
that's a good point too.
But let's put it this way. In the future, when you're having a dinner with your family 10 years from now, and you look at that table and you're like, all these beverages and all this organic food was free. And 10 years ago, this meal would have cost us $30, $40, $50, right? And then from that state, you're going to be like, who paid for these things? And obviously on the beverages, at least for that bag of potatoes, you'll know. Maybe even your least favorite politician paid for it. Maybe you'll actually be like, okay, maybe I'll listen to what they have to say. But it's a different, Bloomberg, he spent $400 million on the last election and lost. He could have given 100,000 Americans free groceries for 6 months. I think that would have done a lot more for him, right? I mean, that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. And then guess what? Next time he would have run, he could have said, hey, remember when I did all those good things? That's the kind of person I am. Do you want to have somebody like that in the White House? It's a track record, but nobody's really like that. Nobody can understand. You have to build up a good reputation of yourself before you do something like that. Everyone immediately was like, no, we're not voting for, no. It's so, it's just, even billionaires have a lack of common sense sometimes. They're good at their one thing they do, but they can't think outside of themselves, right?
So on that same subject, it took me a long time to get this to market. I was in Silicon Valley for nearly a year, basically on my knees groveling to find the right business contacts at the time. Back in those days, I couldn't because I was more raw and the world just wasn't ready for it. But this is the most common response I got from billionaires and people that were worth $200+ million is nobody wants free water. Nobody wants free organic groceries. The only people who wants free computers or free groceries or free water are homeless people.
They can't think outside of their reality that they built.
I was told free water is a horrible name because only homeless people will want that. Free beer, free light beer, free dark beer, free IPA, horrible names. Only homeless people want that. And I'm not going to believe you that people are going to want this until I see countless videos of happy consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the reasons why I let people make their own commercials and we throw them on TikTok.
Oh, man. Well, I think in the long run, you're going to be glad that they didn't invest and you did it yourself. I truly think things like that happen for a reason, especially with this kind of idea and the kind of person you are. I could immediately tell because you just did a couple videos of you talking as yourself. And as a person who just discovered you, I could immediately tell your character and why you're doing this. You know what I mean? It's like baked into who you are with the way you talk and the way you represent yourself. And I think it's better off that didn't happen and you're doing it on your own.
Everything happens for a reason. Everything is open source too. And so people always say, well, what's going to happen when Coke, Pepsi, and Nestle copy you? It's like, that's the point. It's more profitable. It's more eco-friendly. It donates to charity. Nestle, call us today and we will help you copy immediately.
So that's another question I had. Do you see any realm where they do copy your idea and they find a way to start exploiting people who really need those resources?
Of course. Anything can be used for good or evil. I mean, Bitcoin can be used for good or evil. Anything can. It depends on who yields it. Let me explain to you why I created, how we got here. When I was in the army, they said there was 2 types of ambushes. There's oh no, there's the enemy, lie down and shoot at them. And then how do you get them to go where you want them to go while you're shooting bullets at them and make them think that they chose that path, even though you chose it for them. Mm-hmm. So let's say you and I walked into Apple or Nestle's headquarters right now, or Coca-Cola's headquarters, and we say, hey, solve the global water crisis right now. It only costs this much money. You guys are really f***ing up the planet. Hey, do this. What are they going to do? They're going to laugh at us and they're going to hit us on the head with a club and then kick us out of the building. So how can you get them to solve it for you? I was like, okay, well, you have to have a better product. It's not only free, but it has to be free plus charity. So our prices are negatively priced and we still make money. And then open source it. So we launch. Other people are already trying to copy us, and some have reached out, and I'm helping them to copy. And then collectively, that's going to be a PR nightmare for Coke, Pepsi, Nestle, Walmart, Amazon, because we make more money. We're doing it in a more responsible way. We're making people happier. And then they're going to be like, well, holy shit, it's open source. You can't even patent this stuff. Okay, let's copy. And the moment, let's say if every can of Coke had advertisements on it and they still sold it for the same price, but if they just donated 1 penny per Coca-Cola to charity, whatever cause, that would be just right there one of the largest redistributions of wealth in human history, because the amount of volume that they're doing. And some of these companies, same thing with McDonald's. There'll be free McDonald's in the future too. And when you think about, McDonald's feeds 1% of the world's population daily. It's scary. But when you're talking about this sort of volume of a Coke or a Nestle or a McDonald's or an Apple, that healthy competition is going to force them to give more to charity than they want to today. And the only way to pull this off, this is the beauty, is to streamline their manufacturing. Because in the United States, the peak efficiency of American manufacturing only reached 15% in 1995. And so that was the best companies in the USA, peaked out at 15%, and it's only gone down since. So even Tesla, which is a very efficient company, they have probably 90% loss in efficiency. And there's a lot of redundancy. But all that stuff gets solved when the products are free. Because when the product is free, you could get it into the person's hands in 1/10 of the channels when done right. And you could also deliver it in a much different way. I'll give you an example. Every time I see an Amazon Prime driver, I flag them down. I say, please put down your window. I've got one question for you. They're like, what's up? I always lie. I don't tell them what I'm doing. I say, hey, I want to work for Amazon one day. My question is, does the software work right? Like when you go deliver a package at somebody's doorstep, do you deliver the next package right next to the house and you do that neighborhood? Or do you end up like here and then across town and they always laugh and they say, it's supposed to be efficient, but I'll drop off a package at 8 a.m. and then I'll go all the way across Austin. And then on my very last drop off at like 4 p.m., I'm right across the street from the first house I was at. And both packages were in my car the whole time. That's not efficient. But when we're talking about free groceries, you could drop them off at 100 houses in a row because everybody's a customer. And so you're talking about a level of efficiency that can't be achieved today when products cost money. And so that efficiency is cost savings. And that's just a windfall of money into the company's pocket for doing the right thing by the environment. And so in order for them to copy, they're going to have to completely tear down and rebuild a new infrastructure. Instead of a big factory in every state, they're going to have a micro factory on every corner like a McDonald's. And they have to build out a new type of infrastructure to compete. And I will be the first person to give them all of the secrets and tell them how to do it. Because if we don't do something soon, we're I mean, sorry for throwing F-bombs.
Oh, it's okay. I'll believe it. I did it earlier myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. I mean, we're in a very scary time.
I bet they're not used to like you said, you're already partnering with smaller people who are trying to copy you, and that's already creating like we're banding together against you who have been controlling everything for so long. Because really, it kind of is all of us, and I mean all Republicans, all Democrats, everybody in the middle, against like the people who have just been in control, not just politicians, but everyone who's been just doing bad things without anybody's say. And the way you're doing it, I think, is so intelligent, going around them, forming an alliance with other people to where they'll have to actually join you on the good side. Still like join the dark side. Like they'll have to join the good side, right?
The goal is to prove to the world that it's more profitable to save the planet than to destroy it. Today, companies will do whatever it takes. They'll cut down every tree in the rainforest as long as their stock goes up a fraction of a percent the next quarter.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, how do you not understand? I mean, do none of them have children? Like, or just no empathy? They don't care? I don't get that.
I mean,
I don't understand that.
That's for McDonald's to make money quarter after quarter, every quarter for the rest of our lives. They have to sell more burgers every quarter for the next, 50, 60 years. Cut down more trees to grow the beef. I mean, we're all going to be fat cows in order for them to hit that. And so I don't know.
That's a good point, yeah.
So, and again, looking at companies like Uber, I don't know if you know what happened to Uber and Airbnb, but the government really fought back because what happens is these big companies have lobbyists, right? The hotel lobbyists were against, obviously, Airbnb, and then the taxi lobbyists and transportation lobbyists against Uber. And so eventually what happened was they caused such a big threat that the hotel lobbyists went to the government and the politicians, and they passed laws in many cities around the world saying you cannot rent your apartment as an Airbnb unless you do it for a minimum of 30 days. And so that's not every city, but that's many cities. And so that really put a hindrance on Airbnb. And with Uber, they've been kicked out and moved around so many cities. And but those companies are not feel-good companies. And so what's going to happen one day is eventually Coke, Pepsi, Walmart, Amazon are going to do the same thing. They're going to go tug on the sleeve of their lobbyists that they've got on the payroll. Like, hey, you need to shut this company down. Our parent company is called Better Than Free. So FreeWater is the first product. The parent company is Better Than Free because it's free plus charity. And the beauty with this is, I believe it's lobby proof, because the first politician that tries to shut down the world's first free supermarket is never going to get elected again. And they're going to want to use our advertising medium too. And so obviously, if they go against us, no ad space for you. And who's going to want to vote for someone who literally took away such a good opportunity?
Well, the thing is, the media is kind of controlled, as we know, on both sides. So if the information doesn't get out, I mean, there is social media, but we're finding out, pretty controlled too, to a degree. It is kind of decentralizing with other platforms, but if you can't really get the word out about what's happening and they, turn the story around, that might be worrisome, no?
I'm not really worried about it because thirst and hunger is a problem that you have more often than having to check your Facebook page. It's just that we need water, we need food. And so this is not just advertising, we are the news. Our fourth label coming out, we're producing our first news story. And so in the future, you'll literally get that story right off your box of cereal or whatever.
So you're saying, like, instead of social media controlling the narrative, essentially, because you're delivering all these goods, that is a form of communication and media. So like people already be so aware of you because you're growing so fast or trying to grow so fast that it'll be very hard for them to go against you in the narrative, and people would call them out for it.
It's like, have you ever seen Gladiator with Russell Crowe?
A long time ago as a kid.
So the emperor always wants to kill him, right? But he can't do the thumbs down thing because the audience will get upset with him. So you gotta, in the military, they say you gotta win the hearts and minds of the people.
Right.
I don't think we're doing a great job of that right now. But,
no, you're not. No, we're not. No.
But it's just one of those things where people want that feel-good story. People want to know that there's companies out there, aside from us, that really want to make a difference, as opposed to just bilk every single person for every dollar that they have. And so it's just a completely different narrative. And again, it's not just the physical packaging, because with QR codes, we could add videos, augmented reality, shopping, breaking news. You could donate, you could purchase, you could download music, movies, TV shows, video games, software. You could do anything that exists on the internet. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just traditional advertising too, it's also life-saving content. Imagine in the future, there's like a hurricane or a whatever. You're gonna print the life-saving information on the packaging. This is where the hospital is. This is the hours of operation. Here's the food drop. Here's the times. This is how you make a tourniquet. This is how you purify your own water. Hey, scan this QR code to get the latest info from your government. Scan that QR code to tell the government they don't know what the they're talking about. And so it's like, it's not just traditional advertising. It's, you want to get a message in somebody's brain, you put that beverage in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these people that we've given waters to 90 days ago say they're still refilling these in their fridge.
Right.
And so it's like,
it's revolutionary, man. So yeah, I was going to also comment about how we were talking about efficiency earlier, and hey, you're talking to the Amazon driver and how, they're going all over the place trying to deliver these packages. They could have just gone next door and everything. And I saw that you said on your TikTok that you just pre-ordered 25 Tesla Cybertrucks that will be self-driving, which is so efficient. And I was just saying, like, that's such a cool idea. It's just cool in general to see Elon Musk's revolutionary technology, delivering your revolutionary idea, Both these things are changing the world. Have you ever talked to Elon Musk or reached out? Does he know of this idea?
No, he does not. We also, thinking about putting his face on one of them and shipping So we have processes to make his cars free too in the future. It's not just anything that's for sale in a Costco today, not
Uh-huh.
just water or beer or snacks or Doritos, but computers, your next trip to Hawaii, anything within a $40,000 a year salary, we will offer in an ad-supported means in the future, and that includes a Tesla Model 3 or a Cybertruck. And so, with it, just this is not financial advice, but if anyone out there, if I were them, I would pre-order a dozen of these things because it's $100 down. You get the self-driving software. You're going to be at this point like the 1.5 millionth person on the waiting list. You're not getting your truck for 3 years. By the time your truck comes out, it's going to be driving itself. In Silicon Valley, when I was in Mountain View, it seemed like 8 or 10% of the cars were already driving themselves. And so
Mhm.
when you see what's going on and you go in a self-driving car, I've been in 2 of them, you're like, this is real. And so number one, Musk has already said that the self-driving software, when really badass, is going to be probably 25 to 35,000. So if you reserve it today, you're reserving it at 10. The first ones, the first 12, the first dozen we ordered, we reserved it at 7. And so by the time we get them, they'll already have increased equity in the vehicle because that software package would have gotten more expensive. And then, yeah, obviously, just like these, we're going to throw advertisements on that truck. And so
Mm.
if you just take the prices of what it would cost to advertise on a taxi today, you'll get $1,000 to $1,500 just for advertising on that each truck. So the truck is paid for. Our monthly payment is paid for. Our electricity is paid for. And then, yeah, we'll be dropping these ones off house to house. And so, okay, in the future, when we get into manufacturing, because we are not our manufacturer today, we were going to be raising our first round for $5 million, and $5 million will enable us to build our first microfactory. The footprint will be twice the size of a McDonald's, including the parking lot. And in that small of a microfactory, we can manufacture 150 million of these per year of water at $1 per face value. Has nothing to do with, oh, you make a purchase, we obviously make commission off of that too.
Mhm.
But so in that time when we have one of those microfactories in your neighborhood, you're going to have a choice. You could go to us at the microfactory and, like a McDonald's, go around the drive-through. And when you get to the end, we're going to scan the QR code in your phone. You're going to pop your trunk, and someone's going to put 100 of these in the back of your car. And you're going to get paid $5 of our future cryptocurrency to take it away from us. So we're going to pay you to take the water away. We're going to pay you to drink water. And by doing that, that saves us about 300% of the current cost of shipping with the US Postal Service, DHL, or anything that exists today. But let's say you're like, you know what, Josh, screw you guys. I want you to bring it to my house for free. So if you live within a 5-mile radius of that microfactory, we will pay our future delivery drivers or robots, whichever's coming first, to 10 cents per beverage to drop it off at your house for free. And again, since everyone's a customer when the product's free, you could go to 100 houses in a row. And that's like your Monday route, like you're like a milk person or an old school newspaper person, you drop them off. 100 beverages, 100 beverages, 100 beverages. All those houses in a row, every neighborhood, every business, every store. And then when we have free water being delivered to your house for free, that's when we add free soda, free beer, free marijuana, we're legal, free groceries, free
We're
clothing,
legal. I like
free
the caveat there.
free pharmaceuticals, you name it.
Yeah.
And so water is always going to be our most profitable product because it's the problem that people have the most.
Mhm.
But once we have that infrastructure built out where you're either picking it up from us or we're delivering it to your home, that's when we scale into these other products and we become the free Amazon.
Right, right. That's a great business plan. I was going to ask you where the bulk of your cost would be. Would it be in like, the manufacturing, like the processing of the water or whatever you are selling, or would it be like the shipping, labeling? But it sounds like you have a plan for that for people to like
So
come and
it's
pick it up. Or
really cheap. People always say, oh, well, bottled water costs money because they got to put it in a bottle and they got to filter it. And you got to, when you're talking about manufacturing equipment, that is really, really cheap for marginal cost, which is the cost per unit after owning the equipment and the means of production. And so,
Right.
yeah, that first microfactory, it's going to have a hefty price tag. It's going to be 5 million, but it's going to bring us $150+ million in revenue annually. And then that pays for 15 plus more microfactories. And then those fund more microfactories. And so that's how we spread across the world very quickly. By year 5 or 6 after the first microfactory, we are a complete global company. And every single American in every major city will be getting free delivery at that point. And so to put things into perspective, it will take 23 or 24 microfactories to give every single person in Austin or San Francisco, similar sized cities, 3 free beverages per person per day delivered to your house for free. And we make up, and this is not free. I mean, we're making money off of this. This is
So
a lot
yeah,
of
can you explain exactly the structure of your business and how you're making profit from this? Because it's still a business, right? So how exactly are you making profit from it?
Okay, so number one, the main call to action is, well, there's 2 types of free. There's the free water business model. The category 1, I call it the BVRE, below the value of the real estate, which means when you convert this packaging into real estate, that's more valuable than the product, its manufacturing, its distribution, our sales team's commission, our profit, and the donation to charity. And while it sounds like it covers a lot of stuff, which it does, that's water, soda, beer, cannabis, basically vegetarian food, toiletries, some pharmaceuticals, some types of clothing, and some types of transportation. Then there's everything else, like a $100 bottle of whiskey we can't make free by slapping a Nike sign on it, or Johnny Walker Blue Label will never let you put advertising on it. That will later on be a YouTube model. And so YouTube currently charges advertisers on average $1 per minute. And when we scale into that second category, the above the value of real estate category, we're going to charge our advertisers $1 a minute, or sorry, 40 cents. Sorry, YouTube charges 40 cents a minute. We're going to charge 40 cents a minute, but we're going to pay our audience 36 of those cents in our future digital currency. So that means you're going to get paid $40,000 a year to watch ads, train AI, and help companies with their SEO, AKA make TikTok videos for Apple. And so a lot of people wouldn't do that. But a lot of people would. My late mother, she had 2 master's degrees. She was disabled. And in the last 3 years of her life, she couldn't find any work. She would have done that for $1 an hour if she could. And so for people who aren't even making $15 an hour right now, getting paid $20 or $21 an hour from your pajamas on your couch is going to be huge. And so different models. So this one is meant to be a competitor for direct mail, junk mail, which is currently valued at $40 billion in the USA. The bigger ticket items like my iPhone or this computer we're talking on, or that bottle of expensive whiskey or a nice piece of salmon or whatever, that's a YouTube competitor. And so with this one, where we're at today, our main value proposition is that if you wanted to send a piece of junk mail to somebody's house, a free floating piece of junk mail, or you get that into that person's hands, the cheapest that you could do that, including the stamp, is 35 to 40 cents. And in that industry, the status quo is to send you that piece of crap 10 to 15 times before they can expect a response, or you have now absorbed, Tito's Tacos every Tuesday, 2 for 1 chicken tacos or whatever. So $35 cents times 10 for 10 impressions, that's $3.50. Or you could spend about $1, and unless that person chugs it, they're going to look at it 10 times before they're done drinking it. It's refillable. It has a 2-year shelf life. So this might be in your pantry for 2 years, every time you're opening and closing it before you're even drinking it. And then we add all of the digital connections with QR codes. And we're saving our audience money that they could spend on the advertising.
That's a really good point too. I just recognized of how with that aluminum can, you can reuse it. So your advertising, what will be prolonged. That's a great point there too.
And then these ones are also refillable. It's just that you probably have, both of these are considered single serving, single use containers. But the reality is, you're not going to be able to fill this one up more than 5 times, most likely. But this one, I mean, unless you just really beat it to hell, some people have said they've been refilling these for 90 days.
Okay. So I know you talked about how your water, though, is going to be better and more like better processed than other water, and it's more alkaline. Is that right? Can you talk about, I know you also talk about like the forever chemicals that are in tap water and bottled water. So would you recommend even to refill it if your water is going to be better? And can you also explain like why your water is better?
Okay, so that's a lot of questions. So
Sorry.
yeah, to start with, something called PFAS. There's chemicals right now that are in 200 plus million Americans' faucets, probably mine and my wife's right here, and it's not filterable. Even through reverse osmosis, which is really hardcore filtering, you cannot get it out, and it's proven to cause blood cancer. It's currently not regulated by the government because the government does not know what to do about it because they don't have a solution. And in reality, it derives from airports and military bases. It's a chemical they use on the bases and the airports, and then it seeps into the water.
I heard water is exceptionally bad near military bases.
I live in
towns,
Austin, Texas. We have military bases and airports here. And so that's a problem. A lot of people are worried about fluoride, for example, or other things, and all that stuff is not good. But in reality, the sad reality of being in our generation today is this T-shirt that I'm wearing is also made out of plastic, and this will ultimately give me cancer. You know, our clothing, our deodorants, our shampoos, our toothpaste, our hair gel, our water. Every single, you want to eat healthy, you go get the organic option at Whole Foods. It's in a plastic container. Guess what? The chemicals leached out of that plastic, that organic lettuce will kill you now. There is not one thing in our country that won't ultimately potentially give you cancer unless you own rural farmland and you are literally growing your own organic crops and you're just eating it straight out of the ground, raising your own meat. That's the only way. And so that's very few people. And so we're screwed. I mean, especially compared to other countries, other Western nations have much higher food standards, you know, when it comes to what you can drink, what you can eat.
And isn't that crazy that, because my entire life until the past, I'd say like 5 years when I really started to examine a lot of our societies, I think a lot of people have with stuff going on. You know, I always thought like, oh, the FDA, they protect us. Like, why would I worry about anything? This is America. Why would I worry about anything? You know, just a very childlike perspective. And the more I'm learning about the world, I'm like, oh, our country is run by a lot of corruption and people who really don't care about other people. You know, and it's everything. I'm finding out more and more things are just an illusion of security. For example, like the TSA, I learned like George Carlin. The more I started to listen to George Carlin, he's one of my favorite comedians, about how it's security theater with the TSA, you know, and some stuff with COVID, we're finding out like Dr. Fauci and the masks, you know, some of the masks are better than others, like N95s are better than just the, you know, paper mask or the stuff you can buy at Costco, stuff like that. You know, a lot of it's just, some of it's theater.
I mean, I mean, people make money. There's a lot of theater. There's a lot of theatrical. But the fact is, the scary facts is that the biggest pharmaceutical companies in America are also the biggest manufacturers of animal feed. And so they've already had lawsuits for many years because some of them have been found to put arsenic in the animal feed. What happens when you feed that animal arsenic? Well, what happens when you eat that animal? Guess what? You're going to have to buy that pharmaceutical medication that much faster. Everything in this country is up and backwards. If you want to go to the country with the most strict regulations, it's New Zealand, hands down.
Now, when you say strict, do you mean like common sense restrictive?
Their FDA or, you know, EPA, all those things is a light years ahead of us. So like if you drink like an orange soda or something in the US, you know, you drink it. They'll have that same soda in, let's say, like a Germany. But many of the ingredients in our soda are illegal in Europe, in Western Europe. And so they'll still have that same soda, but lacking those chemicals that we have. And then you take that same
Right.
soda and you go to Australia, and they'll still have that same soda, but many of those ingredients that were allowed in Europe are illegal there. And then you go to New Zealand and it's the same thing. They'll have that beverage, but so I don't know why in this country we'll get the one with the most cancer-causing chemicals, but that's what happens. And so circling back again, today we are FreeWater version 0.00, not even like 1. We're using the best containers that we can use that are available today from our manufacturers. But these are not perfect. This paper carton is still 8% plastic. And if they want to spend more money, the plastic part can be made out of types of sugarcane or other bio ingredients. But the way that those are processed and slave labor that they're used to make it is. And then these aluminum bottles have a very thin plastic liner in them. There are some studies that say, hey, long-term aluminum could cause Alzheimer's or all sorts of things. Again, every single thing in my pantry and in my closet, if you read a study on it, will eventually kill me. And it sucks. That's the world we live in, unless you want to go, shear your own wool. And so getting back to the water today, this on the aluminum bottle and the paper cartons, this is 2 separate manufacturers. We can't control their processes. These are both premium spring waters. This one is closer to neutral or slightly less than neutral. It is not alkaline, unfortunately. But this is what we can get outsourcing today. It's the best. These ones we get are alkaline at like a 7.5-ish. But when an advertiser places an order of 100,000 or more, this manufacturer will let you choose your pH. And so if somebody said, oh, I want a 9.5, we can do that. Oh, I want a 10 point whatever, we can do that.
So you can even customize what you want for your pH. For that, that's another layer of cool.
In the future, when we're manufacturing our own water, we will always put it at 8.4. Why 8.4? Because that's the most alkaline that you could find in nature, which is what I've found. And so a lot of these ones are like, oh, well, 10 or 11 or 9.9 is the best. It's really unnatural. I understand why they're saying it. You've also got these other people that sell, have you heard of Kangen water machines?
No, I haven't.
It's a very expensive Mercedes-Benz of water treatment that sits on your counter. They're between $1,000 or $2,000 and $10,000. And what it does is it takes your tap water, it filters it, it runs it through an electric charge, and highly acidic water drains out into the sink. But women like to use that for makeup remover and other things. They actually use that for spa uses. And you could choose your pH and you drink it, and it's electrically charged. And so you could see studies where like you could dip a meter in there and you could actually see lights flash because it's electrically charged. And so when you run it through the water alkalizer, you have that electric charge, but the longer that you have it sitting in your glass or bottles, the less of that charge there is. And so there's never going to ever be something better than if you had that crazy piece of equipment and hardware on your table and you drink it straight out of there. But what those things can't filter is forever chemicals. And so those people that are, oh, well, I don't care what your bottled water is because I've got the Mercedes-Benz of water filtration and alkalize and energizing, they're still going to get the same blood cancer that we'll probably end up with, unfortunately. And so if and you want to be like the super water snob and do and again, this is still not perfect. If you want to spend $5,000, what you could also do is you could put something on your counter called the atmospheric water generator. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
So atmospheric water generation was created by NASA. It's how astronauts drink water in space. It actually takes the moisture from the air, filters it, and you could drink it. So imagine like, when you're running your air conditioning and all that condensation's dripping out, it's like that uber efficient, way more efficient. It's taking the moisture from the air. If you live in a place that has 35% humidity or greater, it's great for you. It sits on your counter. It'll be like a 1 or 2 or 5 gallon thing. And you'll take a cup of water, and then it will make a cup of water from the air. And since it's pulling the water from the air, you bypass all of those solids and the PFAS and all the other stuff in there. But what do they use to house your water? Plastic.
It's unescapable.
There is no perfect system in the world today. And so I want to point out, we're trying to make more perfect systems in the future. But today we are baby fish. And so what's a more perfect system? Well, let me explain. This container right now is the most eco-friendly container in the world. But let me explain to you why, for my standards, this is not eco-friendly. And this is one of the second ones, but again, you're mining aluminum, you're smelting it. This is also not eco-friendly,
Mm-hmm.
But so these trees were responsibly managed, which is like, and they cut them down. So tell that to all the millions of organisms, the microscopic organisms, animals, everything, birds that live in that tree. So you cut it down, you turn it into paperboard. And I believe this one was then shipped to Saudi Arabia. And in Saudi Arabia, they put a very thin plastic coating over there because you still it has to hold water. You don't want it to taste like paper. Water's a solvent. You don't want it to dissolve this thing. Then they take that and then they ship that back to a different place in the US, a different company, and then they put a very thin foily layer. Then they ship it to Amsterdam, and that's where they do the printing on.
Mm-hmm.
Then they ship it to the US manufacturer. It gets filled with liquid. Then they sell it to a store, let's say whatever supermarket. They ship it to them. It's probably held in a middleman warehouse. Then it goes to your shelf. Then you buy it. But you see how it circled the globe before it got it, before it even was filled with liquid, right? And so in the future, we intend to make the world's first 100% hemp carton. One plant makes not only the paper, but the plastic-like substance, everything. And so we are going to grow the hemp at location A, turn it into this water carton at location A, advertise on it at location A, fill it with liquid at location A, and give it away at or right next to location A for free. And then if you will allow us, our future trash-like people are going to pick it up, all the trash from your house that we produce, so we could go recycle it and dispose of it properly. A fully circular system, but nothing circled the globe. Everything done local. No globalized, one piece comes from China, one piece comes from the Netherlands, And
so that's going to cut down on costs for shipping greatly, right? Or reduce all your costs for that. And then also you're generating jobs here and making everything here in America, right? I mean, that's great, or wherever you have it stationed. If you're going to go global, it'll be there supporting it locally. Everything's always better at a local level. It's a fantastic plan.
So the future is free, but the future is also local. And so imagine 100 years ago, everything was local, right? I mean, there was very few things 100 years ago that you had shipped, definitely not across the world, maybe across a state line or a city or whatever. Then we got in this whole globalized thing. Oh, it's better for the world because we're going to pay people $1 per hour, slave wage, and we'll make more money, but it's so much worse for the environment and it's so much worse for efficiency. And so what do we have today? We have 3D printing, which is getting more advanced by the second. And we've also got vertical indoor farming. And so the Netherlands, the Dutch are the world leaders on vertical indoor farming. 2 acres of vertical indoor farming is the equivalent of, I think, 700 or 800 acres of traditional farming. And so in the future, you don't, have you ever heard of a cereal, Kashi Golin?
No, I haven't.
It's like a healthy cereal. They sell it. And they used to boast, I don't know if they still do, but they used to boast, we've got 12 ingredients in this box from 12 different countries around the world. That's how much we care about you. And it's no, you guys should be fined, maybe imprisoned for all this trouble you're causing, not only to those locals that you're enslaving, like as indentured servants, but to the environment
Hmm.
and upcharging the consumer 4 times the price when you could have just done it all at a single location, increased your profit margins, and sold it for 25% of the cost you sell it for today.
But again, that's all marketing. They're spinning it. They're spinning the narrative. That's what it's always been done. And the argument is like, look, with the slave labor, they wouldn't get paid at all. They'd be starving if we didn't support them. Well, I mean, how are you? It's like aiding and abetting, though, right? Like, you got to have them. Something has to change over there. We can't keep supporting a system that keeps them in that way. Like when you have suicide nets outside of Apple factories,
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Glad you did.
right? It's like, yeah, oh, well, they wouldn't be able to support their families if they didn't have those suicide nets around the buildings. I mean, come on.
So I look at the world as a sports team. I always grew up watching sports. And whether you're watching baseball, basketball, football, whatever your soccer, whatever your sport is, if it's a team sport, you'll always notice whatever team wins the championship has a very deep lineup. They've got a deep bench, right? If one of their main stars, superstars gets hurt, somebody comes off the bench to replace them who also can play to an extremely high level. And so when you look at the world, we shouldn't be looking at all these, everyone's against one another. It should be like, hey, we're all in this together. And those people in, I don't know, a small country you've never heard of, potentially in the middle of nowhere, that are getting paid $1 per hour, if they are not doing well, we're not doing as well here. In order for us in the United States to be at our maximum potential, we need every country in Asia and Africa and Latin America to be maxing out their potential too. Not just, hey, for us to get better, we're gonna, put suicide nets around the Apple building in China. It just doesn't work that way. You can't.
We need to lift each other up. But the thing is, the way I've always viewed this is like, before you can take care of someone else, you have to be self-sustaining on your own. I know you got to go here probably soon, right? So the way I view it is like, on an airplane, if the airplane's going down, they always say, put your mask on first before you help your kid, right? So I think we have to, go fully local, do a lot of the ideas and improve our country like you're saying right now. And then once we're fully at like 100%, then we can go and start saying, hey, you need some assistance? Here's how we did it here. We have a proven model. We can help you intelligently reform your own country from within, right?
So it's gotta be that. It's gotta be a lot of things. But again, that's why we created this product where even the poorest people in America were rich compared to people in other countries. And so
we're all the 1%, right? We're all the 1%.
By giving us rich people this free product, you drink it or you eat it, a big portion of that gets donated to that person who really needs it most abroad. And, we're talking about us getting free water here in packaging. We're talking about people getting water wells in India, Africa, and Asia. Until they have water that they could consistently rely on, nothing is going to work for them, because after water, then obviously you're going to want, sewage infrastructure. They're going to want electricity. They're going to want internet, but water is that first key step, right?
Right. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Exactly.
You got to meet your base necessities before you can start thinking about, oh, maybe we should do this. We can do this. There's potential here. We want more from our government to stop mistreating us. We want to improve things, right? You have to have your needs met.
And so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit controversial, but we're very excited because I would say next year will be our breakout year. When we've got 200, somewhere between 250 and 500,000 beverages out into the universe, that's when we're going to shop around to go public. And so we might reach that in 6 months, And so it's very cool. It's very surreal because it was very hard road to get here. But I'm excited just because what I can't wait for. Maybe we could throw this party together. I can't wait for the day that Amazon or Coke or Pepsi or Walmart copies us. I don't know if it's going to be 90 days from now. I don't know if it's going to be 3 years from now. But the moment that they copy, I'm going to throw the biggest bash ever.
That's awesome, man. I could honestly talk. I know you got to go here, but I could talk to you for so long. Fascinating guy. Before we go here, I wanted to ask you: do you have? Because I know you said it's been a long road to get here. I don't know if you have time to explain some of the things you had to bypass in order to make it like a real company. But I wanted to ask you: do you have, as an entrepreneur, like a certain quote or a certain person that's kept you inspired on a daily basis to keep going? Turning this in from a nonprofit into a real company?
No, what I could say is in the past, I was driven by money. And so the small businesses that I started a gym once in LA for athletes and things like that. I was driven by money. And this one is not about money. It took so long to invent it and bring it to market that if it was just about money, I would have quit a long time ago. My why is we'll save 35 million lives a year when food, water, and medicine is available. And again, a bar of soap, is available globally. And so if it's just about money, you're going to quit. If you're trying to do, there's a difference between creating a small business like a burger stand, and maybe your burger stand could turn into 5 or 10, or a startup by definition is something that's meant to be a global system. And so if you're really going to go for the gusto and do the startup thing, it should be sorry, my alarm's going off.
Oh, that's okay.
But if you're going to do the startup thing, it should be something that's more important to you than money, because if it's not, you're going to quit, because you're going to have so many hard things happen to you along the way that it's just not possible, in my opinion. And so that's the best advice I could give, is try to solve something that's really important to you and it's really unobtainable, and go out for it and make it happen. Because just because people say it's not possible today, and if you had a time machine and I went back 5 years from now and we said, hey, Josh from the past, this is Josh from the future, and Michael, do you know that someone is going to invent a way to make money giving you free water? I would have been like, get the fuck out. But
yeah,
it's not possible. I would have told future me and you, it's just not possible. But the fact is, a lot of things are possible. Most people don't even try because the world says it's not possible. Reach for those impossible things and do it for something that's more meaningful than money. And maybe if you're lucky, you'll do it. And what happens if you fail and you don't reach it? The stuff that you've learned in the journey along the way will be worth far more than the time you put into it. So that's the advice that I would give.
Couldn't agree more. If you know how important the why is, you'll figure out the how. Definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
So I want to thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. Maybe in the future we can do an update with how you're doing or something like that.
Yeah, I would love to do it maybe in 6 months or something.
Yeah, something like that. So guys, again, the company name is FreeWater.io. They got a great website you can go visit. They're blowing up on TikTok, which is great. I'm sure you have like Twitter, Instagram, everything else, right? All free water.
Totally. I'll send you, if you want to show it, I'll send you a link for our full video, the one. Yeah, but anyways, I really appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to the next time.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in the next episode.
Hey, free water. What? Free water. Wait, what's free? Free f***ing water. The water is free because it's paid for by ads right on eco-friendly cans. Look, with these ads, you get discounts on shit. Okay, you get deals and prizes and bargains you can't find anywhere else. Is this some sort of simulation? No, Elon Musk, it's not a simulation. It's a really good f***ing idea. That's what it is. Now listen, pay attention and listen. Water should be free for everyone all over the world forever. Always. Nobody should ever have to pay to drink f***ing water. But it's not free right now, is it? It's not just costing us money, it's costing us lives. It's costing us our home. Bottled water is nearly 2,000 times the price of tap water. Can you imagine paying 2,000 times the price of anything else? That's $5 grand for a slice of pizza or $2 million for a smartphone. Meanwhile, 1 in 3 people globally don't have access to safe drinking water. That's millions of people dying each year, and nobody seems to give a shit. Well, we do. For real, we do. And we figured out a way to make money, to save you money, to save a lot of lives, and eliminate plastic bottle waste because the world's beverage manufacturers are producing 1 million plastic bottles per minute and only 9% are being recycled. Okay? I want you to think about this. Think about this right now. Millions of plastic bottles are being made right now as you're watching this video. That means 500 billion plastic bottles this year will end up in the rivers and the lakes and the oceans and the landfills, and they'll stay there for 700 years, okay? And that's bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. That has to stop, and we've actually figured out a way to do it. Our product is free and it's eco-friendly. Companies and individuals pay really, really cheap prices to put their ads on our water, and you get it for free. And here's the really fucking cool part. 10 cents from each can goes to charities that builds wells for people who need them. When you do the math, we only need 10% of Americans to stop paying for bottled water to build wells for 1 billion fucking people. And some company with money in the bank pays us to plaster their advertisement on our can. You drink it for free, and water wells are built. You toss the can in the recycle bin, and the world is a tiny little bit of a better place. And you can call us and advertise for pennies. You're using an advertising medium that can reach everyone on Earth. Loads of people don't watch the TV or use the internet, but everyone needs water for fuck's sake, and everyone likes free stuff. It's water and it's free. BPA free. The water is also alkaline, which is way better than drinking acidic water. Fuck acidic water. Look, we actually care. Big water is like big sugar or big oil or big pharma, and the governments and the corporations of the world aren't going to change it, but we can with your help. Right here, right now, we have the opportunity to change things. We have manufacturing partners who are fully behind us, ready to push the button and make this happen. But we need your help to launch this and get free, clean drinking water in everyone's hands. Let's recap real quick. It's free water. It's alkaline. It's eco-friendly, BPA free, and it builds water wells. And that's pretty fucking cool.